Open your calendar, look at last week and count the number of meetings that you just sat in, probably doing email or something else. The meetings where nothing was decided and nothing really important got discussed, or people just took turns giving their status updates. If you're like most leaders that I know, that is a big part of your week. It was my life as well for years. I ran global IT operations and security for JDE, a global coffee company, and my days were just filled with meetings back to back. I was walking from one room to the next all day. I sat through an hour and I walked out, often having heard or said nothing that couldn't have been a simple email or an Excel or a PowerPoint update. And the meetings that I actually needed, the ones where we were building strategy or have really tough discussions, those just didn't happen often enough. I'll give you one example. The meetings that I dreaded the most of my entire week or my entire month even. We had outsourced multiple services to different vendors, and every month each of them would present their status update to me. 1 hour of slides that was filled with SLAs, all of the numbers that needed to be there, and it was read out loud. I sat through all of them just to make sure that the vendor knew that I cared about their work and the services that they were providing, and that I paid attention, real attention to how they were doing. Looking back, I should have done that very differently. It took me too long to figure out the real problem. I thought sitting in all those meetings was my job. Staying on top of everything that was going on, and there was a lot going on, being present, it all felt like leading. It wasn't. Not all the time, at least. A lot of it was just watching, observing, and checking status updates. And that idea is the foundation of everything else in this video. Your calendar is where either you lead or you just sit and watch. Every hour in a status update meeting is an hour that you spend just watching what's going on. Every hour where something real gets decided or a problem gets worked through is an hour you spend leading. And this isn't only my problem. A study in Harvard Business Review, HBR, found that executives spend around 23 hours a week in meetings, more than half of their working week. And most of them, if you ask, will tell you that a lot of those meetings are a real waste of time. So half your working life goes into meetings. And a big part of that is you sitting there, watching, and wasting very valuable time. If you audited your time from last week's video, meetings were almost certainly your biggest single drain of energy. This is how you win those hours back and turn the meetings that you do keep in your calendar from watching into leading. So 5 ways to make your meetings create real value. Let me take you through them. The first one is really simple. Before any meeting, be clear on what it's for. Not every meeting is for decision making. Some are there for a real discussion, to get aligned on something, to think through a really difficult problem together, or to hear something that somebody would never put in writing, just to listen. Those meetings require your time. They're important. What shouldn't be a meeting is people taking turns reading out their status updates. If all that a meeting does is let everyone tell each other what they did, that's not a meeting. It's a document, an Excel, or a PowerPoint read out loud very slowly. We can read so much faster than somebody else can take us through a document or a status update. So, get through the recurring meetings on your calendar and ask one question for each. Why does this group of people, all of these people, need to be in a room together for that meeting? If it's for a decision or a real discussion, keep it. No questions. If the answer is so everybody knows what everybody else is doing, that meeting is just you watching and not leading. Now, I know it's not always as simple as just canceling a meeting. Some meetings exist for reasons that have nothing to do with the work. People come because the meetings tell them that their work really matters. Kill the meeting outright and you're going to be bruising egos. I've been there. So you don't always kill it, just repurpose it maybe. Cut the invite list down to the people who actually need to be in the meeting. Move the status into a written update everybody gets beforehand as a pre-read, and keep the meeting itself short, to the point, and about the 1 or 2 things that really need the people to be together in the room. You're not taking away anyone's recognition or bruising their egos. You're taking away the 40 minutes of status updates. And this isn't only about your time. Every hour that your team spends in this meeting is an hour they're not delivering real work, creating value. And what about the meetings that you don't run, the ones that you just get summoned to? The steering committees, the staff meetings that come from 2 levels up, the war room meetings. You can't redesign those yourself, but you're not powerless either. Before you accept an invite, ask what the purpose of you being there serves. If there isn't one, ask just to get the notes after the meeting instead. And when it's your slot on somebody else's calendar, send your part your contribution to the meeting as a pre-read beforehand. So your 10 minutes start directly at the real question that you're there for instead of just a status update or a recap. You can't always stop being invited to those meetings, but you can definitely optimize your time being there. The second way to optimize your meetings follows straight from this one. If status doesn't belong in a live meeting, where does it go? It goes in writing. I'm a huge fan of asynchronous work. Most of us still spend far too much time searching for a document, a status update, some work that somebody else has done. And more often than not, it only lives in someone's head. And you'll need to talk to them, chase them over email or Teams or Slack to get an update. Asynchronous work is the exact opposite. Documenting progress, status, and all of the work we do is the default. You do as much work as you can on your own, you write it down, document it, and then you pass it on to somebody else. The updates, the context, the decisions you made, and why you made it, it all lives in a document instead of just in your head that anyone can read whenever they need it. There's a simple rule that I like to abide by. If it isn't written down, it didn't happen. Then, when you do need to have a meeting, all the writing's already there. You send it out ahead of time as a pre-read. People read it before they join, and the meeting can start right away from the start. You're not spending the first 20 minutes just giving status update and making sure everyone is up to speed. You're straight into the discussion or the decision that needs to be made. Some teams take this all the way and read the document together in the room in silence for the first 10 minutes of the meeting, so nobody speaks until they've actually got the full context. It feels a bit strange if you do this for the first time, and it's also the most focused that a meeting will ever start. The first few times that you send a pre-read, some people are probably not going to read it, and the meeting will be a stumble. Keep going. Once the team learns that the meeting actually starts at the decision, they have to read it, they will actually do it. And the more that your team writes things down, their progress, their status updates, the fewer meetings you need in the first place, because the information is just there for you or for anyone else who wants it. Writing it down is you doing the work on your own time instead of pulling 10 people into a room to watch you or somebody else do it. Third, once you know what a meeting is for, run it as such. The meeting is going to look different depending on the type of meeting that it is. A decision meeting, it needs somebody to drive it and to lead towards a decision. Walk in knowing exactly what has to be decided, make sure that all the documentation was there in the pre-read, then keep the conversation targeted at just that decision. And don't let people leave until it's decided. A decision meeting that ends with something like, let's pick this up next time, it's a failure. A discussion meeting needs almost the opposite from you. For years, I made this mistake. I opened the discussion by giving my own opinion, my own view of the solution first. And the moment that the most senior person in the room says what they think, everybody else is going to keep their opinion to themselves. So now I do the opposite. I state the problem, of course, why we're here for the discussion. I say exactly what I want us to work through, and then I go quiet. I don't answer my own question. It's uncomfortable, and the silence, it takes a long time, but the answers that come back are usually so much better than what I would have said on my own. And because they actually answered it, the team answered it, they also own it. Going quiet doesn't mean being passive, though. Your job in that silence is to get the disagreement out in the open. If you have a team there, there's likely a disagreement. Patrick Lencioni, known of the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, but he also wrote Death by Meetings, makes the point that most meetings are boring for one single reason. Teams are afraid of conflict. So the real disagreement never comes out in the meeting, in the room. It comes out afterwards in a hallway, in a private message, or at the coffee machine or the water cooler. So while you've still got everyone together in the meeting, go and search for that disagreement. It's bound to be there. Turn to the person who clearly isn't convinced and just ask them straight out for their opinion. Put the hard question on the table yourself, because without honest disagreement, you will never really get commitment from everyone around the table. Nobody fully backs a decision they never got to really argue with. Now, if you want a very simple shape for your regular team meetings, here's one that I use myself. All of the status updates, the numbers, the wins, the decision points, they all go into the pre-read. The pre-read gets shared at least 48 hours before the meeting, so everybody has taken their time and can take their time to read it. I start the meeting with the wins, not as a status update, but to celebrate successes. And it's difficult. The first time I did it with the team, they had no wins whatsoever. They couldn't think of anything. It actually took them time to think of their successes, their achievements this past week. Then we quickly go through the few things that are off track and require support from somebody else in the team, and any topics that require a longer discussion between us as a team together. At the very end of the meeting, everybody scores the meeting from 1 to 10, and they say that out loud. That last bit feels silly the first time, but it's how meetings get better week over week, because people will actually tell you when it wasn't worth their time and why, or why it was worth their time. Whatever kind of meeting it is, always end with a decision on who's doing what by when. Every single action needs an owner and a date, or it never happens. Write it down, at least write the actions, the owners, and the deadlines down, and actually go back and check them. If nothing changed because the meeting happened, it shouldn't have been a meeting in the first place. Fourth, and if you only change one thing this week, make it this one, please. Everything that we just said about meetings applied immediately to your one-on-ones, because most of them have the exact same challenges. Most one-on-ones, and I know mine were part of that, are a status meeting for just one person. What did you get done this week? What's on your plate? What's going on? And I get it. I get the instinct. You want to know what's going on and what the issues are. But look at what it trains people to do. If the one-on-one is just about listening what they did, they control the agenda. They walk in with a clean list, they know what they want to say ahead of time, and they optimize for looking good and keeping you happy. The things that really matter may just get lost in the process. So turn it around. Instead of a task list, agree on a handful of outcomes that really matter, 3 to 5 results that the two of you are trying to achieve for the next 3 months, the quarter, or next 6 months, or the year. Then the one-on-one that you have is really about those outcomes. Updates are shared offline before the meeting. Why not? And together you look at how these 3 to 5 topics are trending. And you spend the real time on just one question. What's getting in your way right now, and how can I help you and take away those blockers? Stop inspecting people and what they do and start coaching them. Inspecting is just watching, and coaching is real leading of people. Growing the people who work for you is the highest leverage thing that you can do as a leader. And it's a whole skill of its own. It's the next video in this series on how you stretch your people without burning them out. If that's on your mind, you want to learn how to better grow and stretch your people, subscribe to this channel and you'll see when it gets released. Fifth and last, and this sort of caution so you don't push all of this too far. Moving status into writing does not mean moving your whole job into writing. The idea is simple. Information goes into writing. Status updates can be written down. A real decision, a disagreement, a piece of feedback, anything that has feelings or emotion attached to it does not belong in writing. It belongs in a meeting or in a video call or an in-person meeting, because a tough message in writing goes wrong more often than you think. The tone of exactly what you're trying to say gets lost. Conversations that carry emotions do not belong in writing. So put the information in writing and have the human conversations like a human. 5 ways to make your meeting so much better. Decide what each one is for, put the status in writing, run the meeting just for this purpose, and get the disagreements out in the open. Turn your one-on-ones into coaching sessions instead of just status updates, and match the channel to the message. Information in writing and a real emotional conversation in a meeting. In the end, it all comes back to just one idea. Your calendar is where you either lead or you just watch and observe. 6 months from now, if your weeks were mostly watching, you're the leader who sat through them, who was in every room and moves almost nothing. 6 months from now, if your weeks were spent mostly watching, you're the leader who just sat through them, who was in every room, and you moved almost nothing. If your weeks were mostly leading, you made the decisions, you grew the people and moved the company forward, you spent the same amount of hours, but you're a completely different leader with very different results. This week, just do one thing. Take the one recurring meeting that you dread the most, and either give it a real purpose or just cancel it altogether. Move the status to a pre-read and cut the invite list to who's actually needed in the meeting. And walk into your next meeting clear on one thing. Are you here to lead or just to sit and watch what's going on? This is one video in a series that I'm making on the shift from being the person who does the work to being a strategic leader. If that's the shift that you're working on as well, subscribe, because there is quite a few more videos coming, and follow along for those videos.